All right, folks, continuing on with Chapter 9, and we're going to take a look at some of the particular managerial roles when it comes to marketing, starting with the General Sales Manager. The GSM's primary responsibilities include the development of sales policies and objectives in conjunction with the General Manager. So the General Manager sees the media outlet, the station as a whole, and the General Sales Manager oversees everything that's related to sales and to revenue generation. There are many other tasks that the GSM is involved in. Besides the actual sales themselves, there is coordinating of sales with other departments in marketing the facility. There's maintaining budgets and quotas, making sure that you're only spending what's allocated and hopefully bringing in more than you spend. Supervising personnel, largely the various sales departments. New business development, non-traditional revenues, and working with advertising clients and agencies at all levels. We'll get into some of that a little bit. Approving copy and contracts. So once the advertising sale is made, they will take a look at the contracts that are drawn up, make sure the terms and conditions are agreeable, and any sort of written scripts that are made for commercials, that person will take a look at and approve. Where applicable, consulting with and selecting the national representative firm. We'll talk more about rep firms later on. And working with the business department on the credit collections and processing of various accounts. The business department will keep track of whatever accounts have not been paid within certain deadlines, and it will be up to the General Sales Manager to either himself, herself, or to push various account executives to make sure that they're keeping up with their clients and making sure that they're paying their bills. Local advertising. Let's talk about those account executives that we mentioned just a little bit ago. AEs tend to draw higher salaries because they can earn commissions paid as a percentage of advertising sales. Depending on the station, it is not uncommon for account executives to earn on average 15% of the net sales that are generated by that account executive. Sometimes, depending on the volume of the station, they might earn a little less, they might earn significantly more. But if a salesperson is really good at what he or she does, they can earn well into the six figures when it comes to salary. Developmental selling focuses on the customer rather than the product. It integrates knowledge of the client's needs and business with creative approaches. We talked a little bit about this earlier on. It's the idea of servicing your client, knowing your customer, helping the customer solve a problem that his or her business has. It's that idea of empowering the advertising client to be able to make effective use of the advertising that they are purchasing in order to craft a message that is going to effectively reach the audience they're searching for. The sales assistant is the best entry-level position to lead to an AE job. A sales assistant helps prepare presentations, analyze research, and serves clients. So a lot of the grunt work that needs to be done in order for salespeople to be able to make presentations to prospective clients, to have certain data that may be helpful in convincing clients to buy advertising time, all those sort of things. Many times that is the responsibility of the sales assistant. Selling media advertising is a challenging profession, primarily due to the fact that salespeople experience a great deal of rejection. They face heavy competition for ad dollars, and they tend to work alone for many hours of the day. It is a grueling job. If you're not someone that has thick skin and has a hard time staying positive, sales might not be the job for you. It's something that is one of the harsh realities. And when you think about the amount of rejection and the amount of work that goes into being a successful account executive, you can understand how they earn the money that they do when they're successful. The role of the local sales manager, the LSM. They typically have several years of successful experience as an account executive. They know what it takes to sell. So it is helpful for them in their role to be able to work with account executives and be able to mentor them and guide them along based on the experiences that he or she has had. In addition to drawing relatively high salaries, LSMs often receive additional compensation in the form of an override. It's a term used to represent a commission on total sales achieved above monthly or quarterly goals. This is basically an incentive for the LSM to encourage their AEs to be able to meet their revenue generating goals, and if altogether they are able to meet that goal, then the LSM is rewarded for his or her hard work. The LSM's duties include administering all local sales activities. They supervise local account executives. They establish individual quotas for each AE. And they're also evaluating individual and unit performance. They're keeping track on the progress of how they are doing based on the metrics that they are trying to meet. In conjunction with the GSM, the LSM establishes several important policies, such as setting revenue projections for the local sales staff and monitoring rates for advertising. So they are constantly meeting with the general sales manager, knowing what the needs are of the company and the requirements, the goals that are being set, and they're trying to come up with action plans for how to be able to do that in light of what they are currently predicting is going to be the revenue that is generated. Generally, they look at this at a quarterly basis, but they will at times look ahead to the next 6 months and to the next 12 months as well. When demand is high, when it comes to advertising availability, stations can charge premium rates for advertising. Because there is only so much advertising inventory that can be sold in most cases, that means that if you are running low on inventory, you can charge more if several people are looking to buy. However, when demand is low, stations may charge the minimum amount required per spot just to try to break even. It's the law of supply and demand. The cost of each spot is further affected by the quantity demanded by each advertiser. In other words, clients who buy more inventory usually receive a lower cost per spot. Volume discounts, if you will. This is also going to be affected by the competition that is out there, also going to be affected by local economic conditions. If the area as a whole is not doing well financially, you might not be able to command the higher rates that you're looking for. But if it's a more affluent community, then perhaps you can charge a more premium rate. Managers always take into account a sellout rate for their station. This is what this means. It's basically the actual percentage of inventory sold over a given time. So the idea is that a station is going to determine how much they need to be able to sell in order to make budget. Almost think of this as the break-even number for a station. They call it the sellout rate when it comes to advertising revenue. So for example, if the sellout rate is X%, then the station needs to sell the number of spots that make up X% of commercial inventory at a certain average value in order to break even on expenses. There's a great example in your textbook. If you want to look at this in terms of hard numbers, I would encourage you to take a look at that. Television revenue rates. Several factors make inventory much more variable in the television industry. First, the number of available spots will vary according to the day part. Generally, there's going to be more commercial avails during daytime programming than there is primetime programming. But there's also going to be differences in demand for those time slots, and the rates for those are going to be different as well based on that. Second, television spots are tied to ratings performance. Stations guarantee that a certain estimated part of the audience will see the program But if that doesn't happen, if the ratings numbers don't match up to what has been guaranteed, the station will have to provide make-good spots. In other words, they will have to run the spot for free until they can get to that guaranteed rating number that they were shooting for. Third is the reliance on barter in program acquisition. Through barter, many provide programs at a lower cost. It also limits available inventory that stations can sell. Again, barter is the idea that instead of a station buying per episode the cost of a program, some or all of that monetary value may be, instead of paying out money, they are allowing a syndicator so many minutes of advertising time within the program. Cable revenue rates. Local cable advertising revenues originally represented a small percentage of the cable revenue streams. Local cable advertising is confined to 1 to 3 minutes of availabilities per hour on most of the popular advertiser-supported cable networks. So in a way, it's kind of similar to how network television works with local broadcasting affiliates in the amount of local avails that the networks provide. The same sort of thing happens with cable networks and the local avails they provide to the local cable operator. Systems following one of three options regarding local cable advertising as follows. One is to employ a local marketing staff to call on clients in the same way as radio and television stations do, that the local cable company has its own sales department and works on things just like we've talked about with traditional television and with radio. A second option is to outsource advertising sales to a company that specializes in marketing insertion advertising to local businesses. Sometimes there are hubs that will represent several different cable operators and try to sell advertising on a much grander scale. A third option involves the use of interconnects. These exist where two or more operators join together to distribute advertising simultaneously over their respective stations. These days, generally, that's going to be a larger cable operator that operates in several markets that make up their own interconnect, but it's not impossible for two or more individual cable operators to join forces to be able to offer various packages on a grander scale. Let's take a break at this point, and we will conclude the chapter when you log on to Part C of Chapter 9.